Hello. What's up? I'm Matt Williamson, at Williamson NFL. We got minicamp this week. Psyched to see Rodgers, Metcalf, all those guys we mentioned. But I am recording this on Monday, so you guys have it early Tuesday. And the Athletics, Ted McGuinn, put out an article today, June 9th, of a real pretty impressive film breakdown of Aaron Rodgers in his current state. And you guys might not be familiar with Ted, but he does very good work. He's got a coaching background, real X's and O's nerd. And I highlighted a bunch from his article that I wanted to touch on because I agree with pretty much 85% of his analysis of what they're getting in Rodgers. So I wanted to take it a little further than we have to this point. And let's dig right in. I mean, he mentioned how different Rodgers was, and this is something I brought up to you guys a lot, as the season went on. You know, he played much better down the stretch last year, looked way more comfortable, mobile, and confident than he did in the first half of the season, which makes all the sense in the world. I mean, he's coming back from a major Achilles injury. I think it took, I don't think he ever trusted his protection. I've told you before, he doesn't love getting hit. The ball's coming out. But the first half of the season was noticeably more damaged, concerned than the second half of the season. So I think he's very, very much trending in the right direction. And another thing he said is late in the year, Rodgers threw the ball with zip, got it downfield, and even scrambled for yardage. 100% true. Now, he's not going to scramble as much as he used to. You guys probably remember he was such a smart scrambler. You know, like you'd play man coverage, everyone would turn their back to him. It's 3rd and 6. He gets 7, slides, pops right up, basically gives you the finger and moves the chains. You know, I mean, that's the type of scrambler he was. I think you might see it here and there, but more like when the seas part and it's super easy and he's not going to take a big hit. But there's still a little bit there, and you saw more of it as the season went on. So this was another section I thought Ted nailed really well too. With his quick release and accuracy, Rodgers will always be an ace in the quick game. And he absolutely is. His quick game stuff mentally and his release, and again, his accuracy, his ball placement are tremendous. I have no doubts about that at all. When given a clean pocket, he can still make tight window throws downfield with the best of them. He can still make them. He can still make them like Matthew Stafford and Josh Allen. I mean, that's where he is still as a passer. But where his game has diminished most in his ability to make plays outside the pocket and effortlessly make difficult throws off platform. So I don't know if I ever brought this up, but the year I was with the Browns was the year Aaron Rodgers' draft class. I'm hoping I can even bring this up to him at some point. And good thing that the Browns didn't think they had a quarterback need, but we, Cleveland at the time, we liked him better than Alex Smith, who went first overall. So if the Browns, they ended up taking Braylon Edwards. If the Browns were going to take a quarterback this year, they would have taken Aaron Rodgers. So that was our highest graded quarterback. But he was such a different player then. He was very much, this is where I'm going with this, is I remember his college tape. He was very much ball up by his ear, same throwing motion over and over and over. And you remember he changed that massively. I mean, he was really one of the first, ahead of like the Mahomeses of the world, where throwing off platform, throwing when you're uncomfortable, that type of thing. I heard stories, I don't know if they're true, that he would go entire practices in Green Bay when he was in his prime, never throwing with a foot on the ground. Every pass would be both feet in the air, things like that. And Ted's 100% right. A lot of that looks like it's gone. But I'm not 100% sold that there isn't still some there. I think Ted might push that a little too far in saying, oh, that's gone. I don't know if it's gone. I still think you'll see, and that's why I can't wait to watch him this week. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all your sports betting action. With baseball season in full swing, we're deep into the NBA and NHL. And BetOnline has more ways to stay in the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting while the games are being played. We keep the dog days of summer rolling with the largest selection of odds on everything, with updated odds on MLB, UFC, and boxing to tennis and NFL futures. BetOnline remains the best online source for all your sports wagering info. In between games, head over to the BetOnline Casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. BetOnline, the game starts here. Another note that is very obvious when you watch tape that I have brought up, but I need to bring it up more. The Jets' pass protection was terrible, and the receivers dropped passes at the league's third highest rate. That's not his control. I mean, there was a lot of throws he puts on the money that were dropped. Third highest drop rate in the league. Got better when Devontae Adams showed up, but that whole year was not helped very much by, I mean, his supporting cast wasn't terrible, but the system was bad. The protection was bad. Like the Steelers, the Jets have now taken an offensive tackle 2 years in a row, last year and this year, and the drops were bad. So how about this? We talked about his scrambling abilities. You know, again, it's 3rd and 8, he gets 9, pops up. After week 8, he was 11th amongst all quarterbacks in scramble EPA. Now, let's not get crazy. He's not Jalen Hurts. He's not Lamar, of course. But he's smart about it, and he still has that club in his bag. He's just not going to do a ton of it. But he's a smart scrambler and still a capable scrambler. In this article, they also start talking about the Steelers O-line, you know, after talking about how bad the Jets were last year. And I think Ted makes a really good point with this sentence. He says, fortifying the space in front of an aging quarterback, basically, you know, the pocket, and especially guard to center guard, is arguably more important than having a surplus of talent at receiver. But we're very comfortable with Frazier. Are we out of the woods with both guards? I tend to think so. I mean, I think McCormick's getting better. Siamalu's getting worse. But all in all, I think that interior trio is pretty strong. Now, here's a point that I've brought up to you guys a lot, is he is not going to hold the ball very long, which of course will help the line. His 2.79 average time to throw was 36th highest. I mean, he has it ranked 36, so it doesn't mean one is better than 50, but you know what I'm saying? Like 36th highest. For example, Wilson was 10th highest at 3.03. So the ball's coming out 0.3, 0.4 seconds faster on average, Rodgers to Wilson. And that's going to keep up. And as I've told you, so many of the Steelers' pressures allowed were late in the down. You're not going to get late in the down. Okay. Another good point here. Perhaps more important than pass protection at this point of his career is run blocking. The Steelers cannot ask Rodgers to pass at a high rate. Not that offensive coordinator Arthur Smith would want to anyway. So what he's saying is that's a good fit in that regard. This offense is not going to be, hey, Rodgers, drop back 7 steps, throw it 50 times a game. They're going to be run first, which when you're looking at it through Rodgers' eyes, why would he want to come to Pittsburgh? I think that's a big portion of it as well. He has a nice section in this article, too, about his fit with DK Metcalf. And I think this is really interesting. It's something I've given a lot of thought of as well. Rodgers is going to throw with anticipation. I mean, he is going to throw the ball before guys come out of his breaks. He wants to stay a step ahead of the defense and adjust routes and ball locations based on what the defense is doing. He reads things so well that, and I've told you, he is so precise about running the right routes because he's going to put the ball in the location for that specific coverage and on time over and over and over. Now, the problem is finding a receiver who thinks the way Rodgers does, which is why he loves the Randall Cobbs and Alan Lazards, let alone the Jordy Nelsons and Devontae Adams and all those things. It's not always easy. What he says here is it's hard to always be on the same page as Rodgers. Frankly, because he's an Albert Einstein-like football thinker and most receivers aren't close. So what's that mean for Metcalf? In addition to being one of the best deep threats in the league, Metcalf's ability to win on short routes and create after the catch fits exactly what Rodgers is seeking. No question. However, Metcalf can ad-lib and can get sloppy with his route running, which is not what his quarterback expects. Geno Smith had some issues with Metcalf. If Geno Smith had some problems with you ad-libbing, Rodgers is going to have some major problems with it. Like, that's going to be something that could be an issue or needs to be cleaned up, or they're going to need a lot of time to get that stuff right. And by all accounts, Metcalf's really smart, but he isn't a super precise route runner. And what he says here is Metcalf's a physical freak, but he doesn't have the natural feel for the game of a Devontae Adams or a Jordy Nelson. 100% fair. I think that is absolutely fair. There's another section here talking about Rodgers and Smith, Arthur Smith and their offense. And I told you, through Matt LaFleur, this won't be new to Rodgers. I mean, if you look at Smith's timeline, he learned a lot from LaFleur. But even with the LaFleur system in Green Bay, Rodgers complained a fair amount about how much motion was in the offense. He's an old school guy. He wants to play in a static system without a lot of pre-snap motion and read the defense and make checks at the line of scrimmage. Peyton Manning was that way. Like Marvin Harrison always lined up on one side, Wayne always lined up on the other. They hardly used any motion, and he just read it out, without, making the defense kind of a game of chicken with the defense. Well, Rodgers is wanting to do those things too. So him and Smith are going to have to work that stuff out. Not that Smith is motion all the time, but I do think that percentage could go down with Rodgers as the quarterback. Another thing he says here is Rodgers was never a middle of the field merchant, but he certainly will be more willing to do so than Wilson, attack the middle of the field. I 100% agree, but that's not Rodgers' specialty, but he's not bashful about it. Rodgers should know that relying on a strong running game is his best bet to survive the entire season and produce. No question. Last thing here, a couple things here is it pretty much, the way Nguyen mentions here is it'll require the Steelers' offensive line to play like a top 10 unit, for Rodgers to stay healthy for the entire season, the chemistry between Metcalf and Rodgers to hit the ground running, and a legitimate breakout from one of their young receivers for this to be a really successful endeavor. And I'm on board with most of that. I also think what needs to be mentioned, though, is I still think there's a wide receiver or receiver of some sort to be named later that is going to be more of a precise route runner type than Metcalf. So when they're looking for the next receiver to add to the mix, and I do think they will, I think the route running will be the first thing you hear at the press conference. See what I'm saying? Last thing, and we'll wrap it up with this, is bottom line is Rodgers is the best quarterback Tomlin has had in years, and their ceiling as a football team is much higher now. Totally agree. I mean, I'll be shocked that he's not the best quarterback since Ben's elbow surgery. Again, that's what the biggest thing I've been saying about Rodgers. And their ceiling is definitely higher. So excited to see him. That's a wrap. Over and out.